If you're young and you understand that you're being manipulated, that you've been lied to, people in America are realizing that they've been scammed. One of the most common questions I get from job seekers who are entering college, so these are usually people who are in high school right now, or they just graduated, or something of that nature, or maybe they're in college right now and think about switching majors. One of the most common questions I get is my degree that I'm thinking of, is it worth it? And it's a very important question to be asking, because ultimately, I mean, whether we like it or not, we have to eventually pay for that degree. I mean, we're not going to have some magic fairy who decides to run the country, who's the president, that's going to say, "Oh, I'll pay for your student loans." And if you do have that, you should be a little concerned, because if you have somebody who says, "Well, we can earn votes by just convincing people that we're going to pay off their student loans," that's a little shady. But anyway, and so the question of, should I get a computer science degree or is it still worth it, is actually a pretty common question that I've started to run into, especially over the last 6 months. And I have it here on Reddit. Actually, it popped up here. And they say, computer science worth it? I got into computer science for fall of 2024. I'm wondering whether or not this degree is worth pursuing. I hear all the recent graduates struggling to find their first job after numerous applications. Top that off with all the layoffs and a lack of stable employment. It has me concerned. I want to specialize in cybersecurity, by the way. So yes, whenever you are in a position to where you're thinking about a college degree and you're trying to decide if it's going to be worth it, you first need just to ask, are there any jobs available? Now, as always, when you go through this process, when you work with me, I focus primarily on, is there a job waiting for you? Because whether we want to believe it or not, there actually are jobs, a list of jobs for every college degree. And so if you get an accounting degree, it sets you up to be an accountant. Now, generally speaking, the more valuable the job is, how much you would get paid in the job, the more valuable the degree is. Now, and the more specific the college major is, the more valuable it is in the workplace. And so the best example of this is accounting. If you get a bachelor's in accounting, you're going to be an accountant. You're set up to be an accountant. You can do other things, you can do other jobs. But if you're trying to get into accounting, generally speaking, the accounting degree is the only way to do it. Now, you can get into accounting with a finance degree, and you can get in without a degree or with a more general degree. But for the most part, if you want to have a real career in accounting, you want a degree in accounting. And so the case here, they're saying, is the computer science degree worth it? Now, we could have the discussion whether cybersecurity is the way to go in life. That's not what this discussion is about. This is about college degrees. And so is a computer science degree worth it? And for the most part, yes. And the reason is, okay, people might be struggling right now to find jobs, find their first jobs. This has actually been the case for quite a long time. I know it's kind of tough right now, but it may not always be that way. And let's look at the flip side. Let's say, okay, what is the future? In the future, are we going to have a need for computer scientists? Well, yeah. I would rather be in a situation to where I have a computer science degree and I could use it in the future and make a nice 6-figure job or whatever it may be after inflation in the upcoming years. Whatever, 200,000. I would rather have a degree that gives me the possibilities to have a great job than to say, screw it, I'm not going to do that. I'd rather just take a general degree like, business administration and flounder the rest of my life, right? I would rather have the computer science degree because when we're talking about specifically the computer science degree, that does not mean that it's only for cybersecurity. It does not mean it's only for software development or for hardware or networking or anything that has to do with computers. It means you could do basically anything. It is a generalized degree for the area of computers. I know plenty of people who are business analysts, who are data analysts, who are all kinds of different analyst positions. They don't even have to do anything technical, hugely technical. And they have that because they have a computer science degree. Guess, isn't that amazing? A computer science degree not only gets you six-figure jobs where you're actually developing applications, but a computer science degree could also get you a managerial role where you're managing computer science people. See, the computer science degree has many applications beyond something like cybersecurity. So is it worth it to have? Absolutely. Now, to address the difficulty in getting into the workplace, it's very, very common, especially right now for new people to struggle. There are ways you can mitigate that risk. There is a risk that you're going to have a computer science degree and you're going to be stuck being a waiter or waitress somewhere, right? I mean, it is a possibility. But you can mitigate that risk by doing a couple things. Find any damn internship you can, especially in your area that you want to focus in. That's one. And the more internships you have, the better. Work part-time. Find part-time work that's in your area. Find any sort of project outside of school, outside of the workplace. Like, I don't know, maybe find something on Upwork. Maybe help out with a project. Do anything you can to get experience. Because that experience is the difference between the people who can find work as a computer scientist and those who cannot find work as a computer scientist. But there's another issue. And another important piece to understand. Many people right now, what happens is they get a computer science degree and they say, oh, I hear all these stories, these people making six figures. Man, I cannot wait to go from working $30,000 a year to making $100,000 a year. Well, you know what? It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. You have to find any work you can to get you experience. You have to do whatever it takes to get the experience, to build the foundation of your career. And this is the lie that we're all told. We're all told that all you have to do is get the piece of paper. And it's not true. It's not true. You actually have to work. And I know that might be a gut punch to some of you, but you actually have to work. You have to put in your time. And that phrase, putting in your time, is one of the most unpopular phrases for the last couple generations. But you do. You have to put in your time. And I know you're thinking, well, they're just taking advantage of me. Well, that might be true. But it's only going to be for a couple years. And they're only taking advantage of you because you don't have a lot of experience. And at some point, the script flips. And you go from not having experience to having experience. But let's have a deeper discussion. What's actually going on here when we have somebody comment about computer science and they're concerned about whether it's going to be a good enough college major for them to help them get a job? The reality is that people in America are waking up. People in America are realizing that they've been scammed. The prior generations have been duped, and the prior generations are pissed. And if you're like me, if you're part of the prior generation, you know that you were told lies. You were told things that were not true. And because of it, my life is forever ruined. And maybe your life too. Now, obviously, life goes on, and we make whatever life we can with whatever we have. We have to play the hand that we're dealt. But the wake up is occurring. People are realizing what is happening. And the more young people, the more people in the current generation get it, the better off our entire country will be. And so let's talk about the future for just a few moments. The people who get it right now, if you're young and you're listening to this, meaning if you're, I don't know, we'll just say under 25. If you're young and you understand that you're being manipulated, that you've been lied to, that the current foundation, the current structure of our society is built upon the lies that the prior generations fed us. Once you realize this, you become powerful. You have knowledge that other people don't have. If you're a young person in this situation right now, that you're at this stage in life where you're trying to decide about college degrees, trying to figure out your future, that sort of thing. There are a lot of old people like me out there who want to help. There really are. But if you are in this situation, understand you're going to be ahead of the curve. If you're young and you have plenty of time, you're going to be ahead of the curve. And guess who's going to be running the country in the next generation? Not the people who are complaining about working or putting in their time, but you. Because you had the knowledge a whole generation before everybody else. I'll give you an example. When I was 17, my dad brought home our first computer. I didn't have a computer in the house, like a desktop home computer, until I was 17 years old. And from my standpoint, I spent many years going, man, that was early. Whew, boy, back in 1997, that was early. That was early for us. That was early for me. But the early adopters, the people who had been working with computers, have been working on it for a whole generation prior. They already knew about computers. And guess who were the people who made lots of money in computers? The people who were at the beginning in the prior generation. Now, don't get me wrong, people in my generation did fine in computers. We did fine being software developers and growing the industries and growing the technologies. But it was the prior generation that truly benefited. They were truly at the ground level because they had knowledge that the rest of us didn't have. Now, I'm not going to say that the knowledge that colleges are screwing you and that and that you need to make wise decisions is knowledge similar to the computer. But if you are in the mindset that you know that this is happening right now, you are ahead of the curve. Because what's going to happen in the next generation, in 20 years from now, everybody's going to know. Everybody's going to know what the proper strategy is for growing a career. They're going to know. But they're going to be a generation that benefits from the knowledge, not the generation who pioneered the knowledge, the generation that really got the revolution started. Because this life is not about having people in higher places, like in government, telling us what to do. This life is about us, and our family, and our lineage. It's about the individual. It's about the rights of each of us. It is not about someone else telling us what to do. That boat has sailed. We've been doing it for 50 years or more, and it's time to stop. It's time to tell King George, we're not playing that game anymore. We're playing a new game. That new game is America 2.0. That's it for today. I'm SP Graham. This is Job for No. If you have any questions, send me an email at questions@jobforno.com. And as always, choose skills over money.